भद्रं मे अपि वातय मनः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Verse number 3. न मे द्वेषरागौ न मे लोभमोहौ
मदो नैव मे नैव
मदो नैव मे नैव
मात्सर्यभावः
मत्सर्यभावः
न धर्मो न चार्थो
न धर्मो न चार्थो
न कामो न मोक्षः
न कामो न मोक्षः
चिदानन्दरूपः
शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम्.
The negation continues, and here
न मे द्वेषरागौ. For me, there is no dvesha. Dvesha means strong dislikes. Dvesha. For me, there is no raga. Strong preferences are also not there. Easier said than done. But this happens to be the truth of the I, and we have to look at it in this new way. With the new eye, we have to see it. And na me lobha mohau, na madaha, na matsaryaha. And so these are all, what is that called? A group of 6. Another Shatkam. Not like the Nirvana Shatkam, that is just a meaning a group of 6 verses. But here, this 6-fold group is called Shadari or Shadripu, meaning there is a group of 6 which things which are one's inimical to one's growth on this spiritual path. And so what are they? They are, first comes kama. What is kama? Desire. Not all desires, unbridled desires. Desires that take me for a ride. See, if I am in the driver's seat, you can have as many desires as you want if you are in the driver's seat. But if the driver's seat is occupied by the desire, and then what happens? You are in the back seat now. And you say, no, take a left. The desire says, no, I have my own idea where I'm going to take you. And it goes somewhere else. Then those kinds of desires one has to be wary of. One has to be very careful of those kinds of desires that drive one crazy. And then what happens to the car? The car here is the body. The car goes into and falls in a ditch. That's what. Goes off the road of dharma, we'll be talking about that, and then falls into a ditch. So it's not that desire is wrong, but here we are talking of a specific kind of a binding desire whose non-fulfillment leads to a lot of unrest in the mind. When you start feeling like there are 2 things by which we understand what a binding desire is. The first one is there is an anxiety and pressure to fulfill it immediately. I have to have this yesterday. That's the feeling. Then the second thing is that the desire will not let you rest in peace, and then the desire creates a pressure for its fulfillment, and you feel like if I don't fulfill this desire, something is terribly wrong and I can't live without fulfilling this desire. In fact, that's not true at all, but that's the feeling. And such desires are called binding desires. We are talking of those kinds of desires. Here, when we say name dvesha ragav, the kama includes dvesha and raga. And so, those kinds of desires we have to work on. But here, the contention is I'm not any of those desires. I'm neither the group of desires called the binding desires, neither am I the non binding desires, the harmless kind of desires, that also I am not. And then, further looking into this group of six, first we have desire, which is twofold: raga, dvesha, strong preferences, prejudices. Then, after that, the next one we have is anger, krodha. Kama is followed by krodha if the kama is not fulfilled. This is what the Bhagavad Gita tells us. Sangat sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodha abhijayate. Out of kama comes krodha, not a fulfilled kama. A fulfilled desire is not a cause for frustration, but then an unfulfilled desire is a cause for frustration and sadness, which comes out as anger. Uncontrolled anger. You see how the desire has now morphed into what? Anger. So that is anger, kama, krodha. And then what else do we have? Lobha, avarice, greed. And sometimes it is difficult to distinguish between greed and ambition, but we will see that. So the lobha is greed, and then we have the cause of this kama turned into anger, turned into greed. What is the cause of that? Moha, delusion. Delusion means not knowing who I am, not knowing that I am Chidananda Swarupa, and then therefore taking myself to be what I am not. This is a twofold problem. In the human being, ignorance is in the form of a twofold problem. What is the first problem? I don't know myself. Here we are in good company with all the creatures, all the jivas in the world. The dog doesn't know
Swami
my
Vishnu
spelling should be
Devananda was committed
G-O-D.
to peace.
It doesn't know that.
I think he had the experience
so
of
neither
inner
does
peace.
any animal.
from
Everyone
his point of view,
suffers
inner peace
from
was no different
Atma
from outer
Ajnanam.
peace.
That is why that is the cause of
First, we
birth.
had to find inner peace, inner.
Self-ignorance is the cause of birth, so everybody suffers from that. But for the human being, there is Ajnanam part 2. There is a second part. Why we are special, that's why. There is a second part to this Atma Ajnanam, which is that since I don't know myself, therefore I have so much, and then I have so much creative imagination, I have free will, and then where does that free will lead me? To conclude certain things about myself which are simply not true. To come to wrong conclusions about the self, aham, and about other jivas, and then about the jagat, about the universe, and about Ishvara also. This is what happens. So the first one is called Vastunaha Agrahanam. The Mandukya will talk about this. The Mandukya Upanishad talks about this at length. Agrahanam. Agrahanam means not knowing. In fact, that is not the cause of samsara. You also don't know who you are, and dog also doesn't know I am Chidananda Swarupa. But the dog seems to be happier than all of us put together. The dog, the cat, etc. seem to be much happier. Why? Because they don't suffer from the second part of this Atma Ajnanam, which is therefore I take myself. I don't know myself, and therefore I take myself to be what I am not. The mistake. The snake rope, that which was illustrated earlier by the snake rope example. This is called Anyatha Grahanam. So, Agrahanam, not grasping who I am, that is the problem. That is one problem, but far more injurious to the to the gain of moksha is the second problem. I don't know who I am, problem number one. Therefore, I come to the conclusion, certain conclusions about the nature of the I, which are all wrong. Stemming from the first problem, the second problem comes, and that, of course, is is specific to human beings, because there is free will, and because Mother Nature, in making the human mind, they gave it complete freedom and complete sense of self-awareness. And this complete freedom and complete self-awareness is both a blessing and a challenge. It's a blessing because I have the ability to desire the lofty path of moksha. I have the ability to desire, to create. I have everything that Bhagavan has, Ichha Shakti, the ability to desire, the ability to create, Kriya Shakti, and Jnana Shakti, the ability to know. All this I have. This is a blessing. It's also a challenge simultaneously, because it makes me free enough to come to conclusions about the I, free enough to have self-judgment, self-loath, and self-critique, relentless self-critique, because of which there is sorrow. And so here, this agrahanam and anyatha grahanam has to be taken into account when we do this verse. And then this anyatha grahanam morphs further into krodha. First I have kama, then that kama is not fulfilled. Why is it not fulfilled? Because of one's own prarabdha, one's own karma. It's not fulfilled. And then, as a result, there is anger. Anger is there, and there is a connection between anger and greed. And then it's like a knee-jerk reaction to the anger. And then after that, there is, the cause of all this is moha. And the moha further leads to a certain arrogance, mada. And then finally there is matsarya. Matsarasya bhava, matsarya. Matsarya means jealousy. So these are the 6 ripus, 6 inimical things that I don't want to have in my life. So the whole life goes, how should I master the anger? How should I overcome this? How should I overcome parigraha? Hoarding everything, greed. How should I overcome all this?
Here, the author says, you don't have to worry about overcoming at all. Why? Because you don't have them. You are what? What did we say you are? Chidananda Swarupa. Since you are Chidananda Swarupa, you don't have to worry about raga, dvesha, moha, matsarya, lobha, all these things. You don't have to worry at all. Because all these are just emotions that flash and then go, and they are all kshanika, temporary. Temporary means what? Momentary. Kshanika means momentary. They are all momentary, and being momentary, they do not cause any kind of blemish on the blemish-free Atman, which is Chidananda Swarupa, the invariable one, which has no problems at all. But why does it not cause a blemish? It's just like the blemish is not there, because it's just like the Atma is like a movie screen. If there is a fire in the movie that you are watching, does the screen become full of soot and dark grey and smoky? No. The screen is free of the fire that it projects. Similarly, if there is a flood in the movie that you are watching, does the screen get wet? No. The very thought is funny, the screen cannot get wet. Similarly, the Atma is like the canvas upon which all emotions, all events unfold without touching the Atma, without causing any change in the Atma. And that is the I that I have
to redefine myself as. That is the definition of the I have to embrace, assimilate, and live as that I. That is the idea. So now we look at this verse a little more closely. Name dvesha ragav. A very big claim. How can you say that I am not a
liker, I'm not a disliker? Who is saying? The one who has thousands of likes and dislikes is saying that. But then we look at it a little more closely. Are you a liker? Yes, I am a liker. But then we have to say, of what? What are you a liker of? And then you list all kinds of things. Pizza, chocolate cake, ice cream, all these things you put. These are I am the liker of all these things. What are you the disliker of? Snakes, scorpions, and all these things on the other side you can put. But then that is not true for everybody. There are people who do not like pizza at all. There are people who love scorpions and keep them as pets. No, they do that. And they will just keep it in a cage and look at it all day long. And, not much else you can do with a scorpion. You can't pet it. I mean, you can, but you don't want to.
So, there are people who love scorpions. You say, I can't handle this. Like, what is that? There was one scientist who was studying bats. One of my guru's devotees. He was studying bats. He was somewhere in America. In fact, just he drove everybody batty with his talk about bat all the time, morning to night, bat, fruit bat to, fox-faced bat, this bat, that bat, so many bats. And interestingly, his name was Dr. Bhatnagar. But in America, how do you pronounce Bhatnagar? Batnagar. So this is how it was. So there is no recounting for tastes. There is no accounting for tastes. There will be a liker for every single thing in the universe, and there will be a disliker for every single thing in the universe. So then there is not a universal liker. When you say I am a liker, that means it's only with regard to certain specific things. But this too is variable. Why? Because with regard to another bunch of things, you are not a liker. What are you? Disliker. But then what is the tendency is to hold on to the likes and dislikes. And as though that is not enough, not only does one hold on to the likes and dislikes, one shares them with others. This is called a Facebook update. And this is called blog. And then this is also called some kind of a, what is that called? Online matrimony services. This is what it is. And you just enter a bunch of likes and dislikes. And the other person also enters a bunch of likes and dislikes. The computer decides and matches. Yes, both of you like scorpions. You must be together. There is no other way. And so what happens? One bunch of likes and dislikes. It's not people marrying each other. It's one bunch of ragadveshas getting married to another bunch of ragadveshas. And ragadveshas are momentary. You grow out of certain likes. As a child, you like dolls and trucks and all these things. Do you still like them? No, they are gone. They are gone. And so therefore, this is something which we have to see. The likes and dislikes keep changing. And the same people who fill in the likes and dislikes on the computer, they just put in what is called the profile, and the profile is nothing but just a bunch of likes and dislikes. And they'll say, you have arranged marriage in India, how primitive. And what is this then? At least there, the Bhagavan arranges, because we believe in the horoscope, okay, yeah. And so Horoscope is Bhagavan. It's the placement of the planets when the person was born. It is Bhagavan. At least we leave it to Bhagavan. Yes. And here it's just left to some inert computer, Jada, that decides who should be together. Yeah, and so like this, these likes and dislikes are a problem. Because in the beginning, one falls in love. The operative word is falls, okay? Yeah. Falls means there is no balance and there is no control. That's what falls means. So one falls in love. And then a few months later, stay away from me because we have nothing in common. This is the problem with running the show of the life with a whole lot of likes and dislikes. This is the problem. So then it is safer to see the logic behind this. I'm neither a liker nor a disliker. Because if you were a liker, you would be liking something all the time. If you were a disliker, you would be disliking something all the time. This is not true. No, I'm 50% liker, 50% disliker. Okay, look at all the things in the universe, starting with your own body, mind, sense complex, all the way up to the galaxies. How many things are there? Countless things. This is Bhagavan's universe. Yes, a few things you can like, a few things you dislike, but about 99% of the things you are indifferent. One is indifferent. What opinion do you have about Andromeda? What's Andromeda? It's the galaxy next to us. Oh, well, I don't have an opinion. Precisely. You don't have an opinion. What is it doing to you? Nothing. But those who know a little bit of astronomy know that it is heading. It's heading to the Milky Way, which is the galaxy in which we are. And it's going to Swaha, eat up. Eat up the Milky Way. Don't worry, it's not happening now, okay? Yeah. Millions of years later. Don't worry, right now everything is safe. All is well. So this way, what opinion can you have about Andromeda? And then there is one mega sun, a big star called Betelgeuse. Oh, it has a cool name, but that's fine. But then what opinion do you have about Betelgeuse? Nothing. Like this, you think about some city some city somewhere, some country somewhere, Senegal. What opinion do we have? Nothing. We hardly know anything about many things. So really, even on the empirical level, forget the spiritual level and what is that, Paramarthika Satta, we forget that, the level of the absolute. Even on the empirical level, it is not right to define oneself as a liker or a disliker. Really. Because that is what is the cause of grief. And it's just not true. The truth is about most of the things in the universe, really, you don't really care. There is not much of an opinion because we don't know much about it. And so, this, even before studying Vedanta, one can help, even as one studies and allows this, one can help oneself on the level of sadhana to see this reality. Name dvesha ragav, it is the truth. It is the truth of even the empirical self in the empirical order of the reality where I consider myself different from everything else and everyone else. Still, there are 8 billion people in the world, and then what? With regard to most of them, you don't have an opinion. You don't even know them. And so, already I am not a liker or a disliker. And then what? Then we think of krodha, the next thing. It's not mentioned here, I think, but then we have to include that because it is coming in this six pack. It is coming, so we have to include that in this sixfold internal inimical things that cause a problem, surmount an obstacle, a series of obstacles to emotional maturity and self-growth. And so what is the next thing? The next thing is anger. And anger comes, as we said, when a desire is thwarted, when a desire is just not fulfilled, then it turns into anger. And then what? You can't tell a person, don't be angry. Why? They'll get even more angry. That is why. You can't tell them because it's not in their hand. Anger comes, it is here. It has to be neutralized. You can't say, I should control my anger. No, because it is controlling you right now. You cannot say, one cannot say that. One young man came to my guru and said, Swamiji, I have overcome my anger. I did some sadhana in the Himalayas. I went here, I went there, I sat with myself, I meditated. I have overcome my anger totally, Swamiji. And my guru said, you are a bluffer. You lie. No, Swamiji, I am not lying. I have really overcome my anger completely. Absolute rubbish. You are telling a big lie. Like this, they went back and forth. And then Swamiji said, you are just telling so many lies. It's not true at all. What do you mean I'm telling lies? I have controlled my anger. So anger is there. Even, especially when you think I have a say over it, it is there in a latent form, ready to come out. It's like that, what is that, Jack in the box. You just press one button and it comes like that, it comes, it's already there. But then here the author says you are not the anger. You are not the anger at all, because again, it's all about seeing oneself as Satchidananda. And the anger is best handled with groups of people. You come to an understanding. You come to an understanding with your family members. Please tell me when I'm getting angry. Because obviously, I don't know when I'm getting angry. But the family members and the people who know you well, your friends know. The nostrils start flaring. The eyes keep going here and there in a shifty way. You have stopped making eye contact. The fists are clenched. There are many signs. Different people have different signs. And one is unaware of them. Because one is in the grip of anger. So you have to give the permission to the people who love you to say, please let me know when I'm about to get angry. And please tell me we should discuss this matter later. This is how one manages. So in the beginning, one knows after one has got angry, the tsunami has come and gone, and then you say, oh no, I got so angry, why did I do this? Then with some practice, you come to know as while the anger is happening, and then again with more practice, you know, just before the anger comes, you have the warning bells in the head go off. That is when is to quietly leave the place and push off. And just say anything you want, I'll be right back. We'll discuss this later. I forgot something, I have to go get something. Leave their place, because otherwise, again there will be an explosion. So we have kama, krodha, and then lobha. Lobha or greed comes from a sense of insecurity. But then again, that also is relative. A capitalist person, somebody who is, head of two or three big companies, wants to acquire one more company. And then, similarly, a person who has nothing but a begging bowl wants a better begging bowl. Maybe it was made of plastic, the one he or she had. Now what do they want? Made of steel. Little more sturdy. What is the difference? There is no difference. No difference at all. So then, again, one can argue, this is not greed, this is ambition. And ambition is healthy. Why do you call it greed? Ambition is healthy, greed is not healthy, but then even the corporate person who wants to buy one more company even though they are already having 10 companies. This may be ambition. What's wrong with ambition? Nothing wrong with ambition, but how do you tell the difference? You can tell the difference again with the pressure that that desire creates. And the pressure it creates often leads one to cross dharma. This is the problem. Often leads one to transgress, to do ullanghanam, transgression of our own values, value systems that we ourselves have enshrined as fair, just, equal, all these things. We cross that very thing because of the urgency to gain this. The Bhagavad Gita puts this beautifully. Yash shaknoti ihaiva sodhum prak sharira vimokshanat kama krodhodbhavam vegam. This is the thing. Vega. Vega means the urgency. The urgency to gain something differentiates it from just a mere desire or ambition to greed. It elevates it to the level of greed. And then that, because of that urgency, I do not see that I am riding over other people's rights and privileges in order to get this. This is the problem. And that is why this lobha is something which is to be watched out for. But here, from the standpoint of myself as Chidananda Swarupa, Satchidananda Swarupa, there is no lobha at all. There is no lobha. Why is there no lobha? For the same reason there is no raga dvesha, there is no kama krodha. Similarly, there is no lobha. Because the lobha is a property or an emotion belonging to the mind. The manaha, buddhi, ahankara, chittam, all these have lobha. And those are all what? Cognizable. They are variable. The mind is variable. And the lobha, the avarice sitting in the mind is also variable. I am the cognizer of all of them. Therefore, I am not affected by what I cognize. Therefore, there is no lobha. And then there is no mada either. Mada means anger, arrogance. Arrogance comes from ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of Ishvara. Ignorance of knowing. That ignorance means not knowing that everything in this universe is already given. Everything is given. You did not make anything. And even though we have the concept of the self-made man, there is no such thing. The self-made man will always say, I did everything on my own, I built this empire from scratch. Not true. We are discounting or not looking at all the hidden variables that have brought this person to be in this position. The so-called self-made man will say, what? I studied under the street light. Maybe one day he studied, but still that's the feeling. I studied under the street light. I had 2 pairs of clothes. One was hanging on the tree and drying, and the other one was on my body. I had only 2 pairs of clothes. Food also was like that. One day I had dal and rice, and the next day what did I have? Rice and dal. This is what I ate, and everything I have achieved. Not true. Street light to study, given. The buddhi to study, the ability to study, given. And then what else? Dal and rice, given. Rice and dal, given. 2 pairs of clothes, given. And the wherewithal to make a big empire of whatever one had, given. It's given. We cannot take credit. The more we know, we see that we cannot take credit for anything in this universe. Not even this body. You cannot even say, oh, I have a wonderful body, it is so fit, because the body is given. You did not make this body. Neither did your parents. You can go ask them, Mom, did you make my brains? What will she say? I wish I had made your brains so you won't ask these kinds of questions. That's all she's going to say. The mother's womb is an incubator. That's what it is. She doesn't know how to make brain. She doesn't know how to make kidneys, much less the father. It's all given. The body is given. Mind is given. Senses are given. Ability to desire is given. And what we say is that that which is given is non-separate from the giver. If everything is given, there must be a giver. And that is what we have to understand. And that, the acknowledgement of the giver, whether we know this giver as a particular name and form in the form of Ishvara with particular functions, or we don't know who this giver is, doesn't matter. Just the mere acknowledgement of the giver tones down the arrogance and comes to humility. There is humility. And the presence of that humility becomes a very nice embellishment to our learning. And one has a certain kind of an equanimity that one enjoys in seeing everything as given, which is very beautiful. And so then this is Mada. Then finally we have Matsarya. What is Matsarya? Jealousy. Jealousy is, the definition of jealousy is that when I see somebody else coming up or they have some wonderful quality, I feel upset. I feel very, very upset. Because why? I want that quality for myself. If somebody sings well, then I feel upset because I can't sing. And if somebody dances well, I feel upset because I was born with 2 left feet. And then if somebody does something else well, then what happens is that one's own insecurity comes out in the face of other people's talents and other people's potential. The only way to heal this is to have this pratipaksha bhava. Pratipaksha bhava means you just have the opposite tendency to what you're feeling. You cultivate that and then pray for the person who has this ability to be even more successful, even more grand, even fewer obstacles. Let them come up. This is the only antidote to jealousy in the everyday life. But again, when we talk about the absolute reality of oneself being Chidananda, Chidananda Rupa, then there cannot be jealousy because all that is there is me. And what about all the other people? They are just extensions of me. They are non-separate from me. Everything is this one Atma. They are all extensions of me. And being extensions of me, I can enjoy them. I can enjoy their potential, I can enjoy their skills, I can enjoy their talents. When they sing, it is almost like I am myself singing. There is no difference at all. This is from the standpoint of the from the standpoint of the jnani, the one who is endowed with this self-knowledge will be looking at the universe and all the people in it in this manner. This is how one overcomes this, to understand that all that is here is oneself alone. In the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna takes back all the intellectual property rights and says, if you can sing well, it is not you, it is me. If you can do something well, it is not you, it is me. And whatever, yadyad vibhutimat sattvam, whatever is there, glory in you, in the world, know that to not be belonging to the people there. It is all me alone. And to Ishvarize this universe from the standpoint of talents, abilities, potential is just a wonderful, wonderful thing. Otherwise one feels very left out. And this Matsarya is very much discussed also in the Bhagavad Gita. Dvandvatito vimatsaraha, in one place we hear. Dvandvatita means the one who has crossed duality, means who is like a jnani. But that person also is cautioned. Vimatsaraha means that this jealousy has to be overcome. When we see all glory first as belonging to Bhagavan, and then we see that glory as belonging to oneself. Because that Bhagavan is non-separate from the self. So we see this all glorious universe and we see this and enjoy this. Very, very beautiful. And then we have a very interesting statement. Na dharmaha, na arthaha, na kamaha, na mokshaha. We have seen all these four, what are called, in the beginning we saw on the first day, purusharthas. Sarvaihi purushaihi arthyate. Iti purusharthaha means that which is universally desired by all people. Dharma, righteous living, artha, security, kama, and all other kinds of pleasures, aesthetic pleasures that one wants to pursue, and then finally what? Freedom from longing for dharma, artha, kama. That is moksha. Freedom from seeking. That is moksha. But then here the author says that for me there is no pursuit at all. Why is there no pursuit? Let us find out tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.